Okay, we have previously covered, different type of resources and planning for resources. And we actually cover up to different type of resources that are available, okay? And, we go from materials, machineries, manpower, subcontractor management, there's a few M's here involved, okay? And supervision management, they are under the same category. When we talk about manpower, okay, when we talk about manpower, it is actually below like people who are on site, and it's actually supervisory team and below, okay? Then we are talking about management, manpower. Supervisors and above, we're talking about management, okay? So just be clear about the split of these two categories. Management and below supervisor and below, we talk about manpower. Supervisor and above, we talk about management, okay? So supervisor is the cut-off line. So supervisor actually belongs to the management team, okay? So you have got different type of organizational resources, material, manpower, staffing, we call this manpower. Machineries, yeah, okay. Equipment, facilities, and all this, we consider that as machineries, machineries. Like excavators, and that sort of things, yeah. Okay, then subcontractors, okay. So now we are going to actually come up with our resources data sheets. That is the most, that is one very important thing that we need to look into. But before we can go to that, okay, I have to show you what we have to do first. And the most important technique here that will be revolving around the whole entire project management, that it will be the backbone of project management. You'll be using that again and again. Your flow of thought will be this again and again as you go into the industry in the future. Okay, right here also you need to use work breakdown analysis that produce the work breakdown structure. Okay, so work breakdown structure is like a tool, it's like a method, it's like a mind map, it's like the way that you think. Okay, it will address the scope of work. It's just like you think of you take out a piece of drawing. Where do you start? Okay, so you start off with what we call a work breakdown analysis. Okay, and this work breakdown analysis will address, it will address all the activities, all the major, minor sub activities that contributes to the project completion. Okay, so this is talking about all the activities of the project. And work breakdown structure is like a structuring tool. It's like it forces your mind to think of a mindset way of how to deal with the different components or elements in the project. It can be done in a hierarchy form, it can be done in the list form, it can be done in a pictorial format as well. But because we are in civil engineering, most of our list of work breakdown our work breakdown structures or work breakdown statement will most likely be in the list, one whole list kind of format, whereby if we talk about manufacturing, there will be more onto like product breakdown. So they will have different components, and then they can do a hierarchy kind of format, and sometimes they will do a pictorial format or an organizational kind of format. So for us, mainly we will do, because our work is quite very nitty gritty, a lot of small components, so we need to do like in a list type of format. Okay, so why we use work breakdown? It will provide you with a framework. So you have this is a structured way of thinking. So it will get you to break down your work into smaller, manageable components, like a smaller component, smaller activities. And they are all the activities that will actually contribute to the project at the end of the day. Like you don't put in things that is useless or junky, like things that is not going to contribute anything, or just be there for the sake of there, Yes, and for the sake of there, we call it the milestone. There's no timeline associated with that. So it's just a completion of something. Yes, we do have something like that, but it's not really, when we do our work breakdown, we don't really think about that, so we do that in our schedule later. So you see, when you have your work breakdown in a very systematic way, you start to think about what kind of work has to be done and what sort of detail there will be. So it will be giving you, once you finish, it will provide you with a framework, and that framework can be used for planning. And that planning plan that you have that comes out from this framework, the plan like cost plan or the time plan or the quality plan, it will be used as a baseline for controlling and monitoring later, you see. So it is a very important tool in project management. Okay, that's all I can say, So that it will also provide you with a framework that tells you that, this part here is in charge by which subcontractor, this part here is in charge by which engineer, this part here is going to be looked after by so and so, this part here is going to be built by so and so, So it gives you the framework of people, it gives you the framework of planning, which will be used as a base for controlling later on. Okay, so then you break the project down because you are thinking, like what's next. So it gives your mind that kind of framework to move your project into a manageable component. So in a way, you are actually imagining how the work will be carrying out before you even get down to the site. And that is a very important way of taking care of projects. See, you have to think about, you almost have to have a virtual reality in your head before you actually put it down. In fact, nowadays, a lot of this structure, a lot of this program, like Synchro and all that, it actually gives you that kind of virtual reality first. It makes you think about how you're going to carry out the work and arrange the work in a very AI kind of format, so that you all can imagine how things are being built and how things will be, coming up, as you go along, and what are the important elements that you must manage first and all that. So that is what we have been trying to do, before technology take over. Yeah, but if you don't have technology, or it's too expensive to get a technology to do this virtual reality thing, you have to think about it in the sense of a work breakdown structure, is in the sense of how you're going to think about your project and how your project is going to be mind mapping through the road, the journey of this particular project, all the activities. So then later on, you have the pricing based on it, your responsibilities, the duration, your quality, safety requirement, everything is going to be based on work breakdown analysis. And that is like in civil engineering, it helps you to break your work into manageable tasks, operations, activities. First you go for key activities. You brainstorm what are the key activities, okay? And in scope management, it will start off as early as scope management, way in the beginning, where you think about what sort of scope of work for this particular project, okay? And from there, you think about, okay, you design, you plan, you develop, then you design, and then you build. So in the beginning, where you're in the conceptual stage, also, we will need that work breakdown. So for your IDP, you think about your work breakdown too, you think about it first as well, you see, because before the concept starts to get in, you need to know what to build. So you think that, okay, now I have to later on design for my structure, I have to design for how many shop lots, how many of them are actually joined, like there's one block 5, there's one block 6, there's one block 7. So your analysis is actually different, and when you do it by the whole block, you see. And then when you do terrace house, some of them is 4, some of them is 5, some of them is 6, some of them is 8, So you do have that. And then semi-D, of course, is actually side by side. So different semi-D will have a different type of work involved as well, because of the architectural design, that we had to pick the architect's design in terms of structures. Then after that, we think about, okay, we will need road work, we will need, traffic studies, we will need drainage studies, we will need, before we do drainage work, we need to do drainage studies, the rainfall, the runoff, and all that. And then you need, before you do your pipe design, you need to know the water pressure chart of the nearest tapping point. So these are the things that you start to think about, the outline of your work, of what is supposed to be built, you know, and then you go down to the smaller layer of activities as you move along, okay? So first we'll start off with layer 1, you see, and layer 1 will be the major activities that you can brainstorm. And some of us, you know, like I normally get these questions a lot, you know, it's like, is phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 considered like in phases and stages? Would it be considered as layer 1? Normally, I don't, you know, because we have that many layers to work with, you see. So we do not want 4, 5, 6 layers. What we want is just like, let's say, 3 layers, maximum 4 layers. So if you have phase 1 is just like maybe a topic, a heading. You know, we do not want to make it into a level, you see. So the first layer or the first level, you know, some students ask me, Madam, layer and level is the same? So yes, it's the same, you know, like first layer, first level, you know, it's up to you to use the word interchangeably, you know, so don't come and ask me later on, when you say layer is the same as level, you know, it's like, oh Lord, you know, can somebody just use a bit of common sense here, you know, so yeah. So the word breakdown structure, you need to outline level by level or layer by layer. So the first level or the first layer will be the major activities or the major tasks such as structure work. Or in fact, if you want to have detail, if that particular work is actually considered structural work, you may even have ground floor structure as the first layer. You see, so and that will actually be a bit that is already very wide, you know. As much as possible, we want to start off from the major operation or the major activities immediately, such as beam, column, or piling, foundation. Go for the substructure, foundation work. So foundation, sometimes we don't, if there's a lot of layers, we don't even want to use foundation work as a layer. We just want to use it as like piling. Straight away, you go to piling, you know. Foundation work becomes like a sub-topic, not a sub-layer. So you go like foundation work. So from foundation work, you know, as a topic, you go like piling work, you know, and piling work involves what? You know, that is the second layer. And then from that second layer, like piling, hammering, you know, and from there, hacking, you know. So one layer by one layer, you go down. So you're actually like peeling potato, not peeling potatoes. I'm thinking like, what other fruits has a lot of layers? Like mostly, okay lah. Let's say a durian. You peel open a durian. That is the outer layer is durian. You know. So I mean, it's that particular cover. You know that you have, and then you eat the fruits. You know that fruit that you're eating, the brown part is the second layer. You know, and then the final biji, yeah, is the last layer. So normally we just want to do that 3 layers kind of thing, you see. So yeah, if you eat apple, also the first layer you peel it off, and the second layer you eat the fruits, and the third layer you've got a core of the apple, you see. So you've got like 3 layers. Normally we want to go for that 3 layers. We do not want to have more. More, yes, 4. 4 is really very detailed already. If you go to 4, you confuse yourself. But if you can manage, if the project is not so big, if you can manage, go for it. So now for those PM people that you need to work with now, especially IDP, you need to think about all this work breakdown already for your particular project. Okay, what you need to design later, what you need to build later, you need to break it down first, brainstorm it first, major layer first, and then break it down. Okay. So it will be break down to sub-layer, sub-class, you know, and all that. So the major components, these are usually the major components, and we have our preliminaries, generals, you know, and a lot of people like to use preliminary in general, like quite many, like first layer with preliminary in general. It's not like that. Generals are just preliminary in general. It involves contractual work. It involves like it involves like, you know, building site office and all that. So you know, just lump it under those things. And then like the major work like surveying, you know, boundary packing and all that, those are a layer by itself. Don't make it into under preliminaries, okay? General and preliminary. General and preliminary should be just very contractual, very paperwork, you know, very like general work, like, you know, buying insurance, doing performance bond, you know, and then putting up site office, all those are all general preliminaries. Then we want to go straight into our work. You know, our work will start off usually from site clearance. You know, and site clearance has certain activities. You know, and then surveying work, and you know the surveying work has certain activities, and then you go for the major structure and civil works. You see, so those are the major activities. So now your serve IDP, you will be starting to have these sort of things already, major layer. Then in the layering systems or the leveling systems, you are breaking down the work into subtasks. Then you know, you think under building work, what kind of work do I have? Foundation, okay, substructure, or you can use the word substructure, you know, and piling, packing of piles, you know, doing pile caps, you know. And then from there, you can go into your third layer. Like for example, pile caps, you know. So pile cap is just like one word, pile caps, like constructing of pile caps. So you need to do formwork. So in the third layer for pile cap, you know, you need to do like formwork, bar bending, pouring of concrete. So that will be third layer, okay? And foundation work, you know, it can be just excavation, you know, and all that. And then here the piling work will be like foundation to be getting ready the site for foundation work. And the piling is actually pong, 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 you know. And then if there's some work that don't have piling work, then you have to do excavation and do the treatment of the ground, you know, and all that. And then that will be foundation work as well. And then you do your formwork in order to do your pouring, and that one will be part of what we call pad footing, you know, or you know the rough footing and all that. Okay, so those are layer 2, you know, and because under here we call it under layer 1, you know, you can do that, you know, like so this is actually here I said 2 so I bring 2 down here, and then these are the smaller layers. And under these smaller layers, we can have like, this is a 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, 2.4. And then under 2.4, if you want to go deeper, or under any one of these you want to go deeper, it will be 2.4.1, 2.4.2, 2.4.3, you know. So we can use our Excel to do this as well. We open your Excel file. So if you want to open your Excel file to do this, you would have your, you know, you will have the general topic, you know, like what is this project? So you have a project name now, I would say, huh? And then followed by the, you know, if you have the major phases or stages, this one you can actually name it properly as well, but that shouldn't be counted as a layer. And then depending on the project, you know, you could actually do you know, like you could actually split this into 4. There's one way of doing it. This is like layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, and layer 4. Okay. Like for example, your project name is bus station, you know, so you're doing a bus stop or something like that. You know, it's a pretty small project. So your layer 1 will include things like foundation work, you know, actual structural work, you know, and all that. So you can actually list it down here, and then list down all your layer 2 depending on where your layer 1 is. Let's say foundation work, you know. And here, what are the work that is associated with foundation work? So you can have your, you know, piling, okay. You can have your okay, under piling, we can go for driving of piles, supply of piles, driving of piles, okay. Preparation, yeah. Hammer selection, preparation. Depending if you want to go for that kind of detail, preparation, driving of piles, you know, and then you have got your piling and yeah, like delivery, supply and delivery of piles. Yeah. Okay, driving of piles, and then checking, testing, you know, and all that. Okay. So then here you've got the hacking work. Or if you want to go straight for pile caps, it's also possible, pile caps. So under pile caps, you have hacking of piles, okay? Or here, maybe you even have like joining, like driving plus joining of pounds. Like some pounds maybe needs to be joined because it's not long enough. You all can see, I mean, I'm talking to myself and everybody's so quiet. Okay. Packing, you know, concreting, bar bending, concrete, concreting, bar bending, formwork, you know. We normally use Excel and that will be pretty much quite sufficient actually. Okay. So you have your one layer by one layer. So this one here is like layer 2 is associated with foundation, you know, and all that. So then you have your building work, and then you may have your, let's say if you don't, if let's say this is going to go too much, you can, okay, let me show you. So you have your ground beam, you know, and your slab, column, okay? And then you go into details, you know, like clearance, clearing, pouring, you know, pouring, and concreting, pouring. I need to use the word concreting better. Bar bending, form working, you know, copy and paste this here. Then your slab work will be like next, you know, like this, okay? So if let's say this one can cover in 3 layers, that's fine. You know, if let's say, you know, you need to go to 4 layers and still 4 layers is not enough, you may want to take this one off, you know, and shift this two over in that sense. Yeah. And then you make it 4 layers maximum. Okay. And building work becomes like a subtopic, like a topic within particular layering. So it's not under any of the layering, but it's actually just a topic under that. Okay. So, you know, sometimes you've got building 1, 2, 3, you know, we really don't want to have like building 1 and then you've got repetition, you know, in building 2, you got, you know, the same repetition and then you go to 5 layers, you know, you end up with 5 layers. So like I said, maximum 4 layers, okay? So depending on how, whether it can be covered, you know, it can be completely covered within that 4 layers. Otherwise, you need to make adjustments, okay? So this is one way of doing, this is one format, you know, of doing it. Or you can use the list kind of format. We go by one, which is your foundation work, copy, paste. Then you got your 1.1. Then you got your whole list here. Okay. Paste. So we sometimes use indent, but you don't have to use indent. I mean, Microsoft Project would have indent for you to use, okay, to show that layering, but you don't have to. You can use my technique here, you know, you're using that list kind of format. I like Excel. I mean, like Excel always, you know, do a lot of good things. So, you know, use Excel. I'm very happy to see Excel work, you know, and yeah, you can do that. And then, you know, you can do a lot of formatting with Excel as well, you know, so no harm at all, you know. And that will be how it will look like if you do a list kind of format. So this is more like layer, this is more like level in that sense, you know. So layer 1, 2, 3 or level 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, you know. So you've got the yellow as a first layer, second layer as orange, you know, and then all the third layer as green, for example. Very nice, you know. So in Primavera, they will give you sort of color coding as well, you know, so you can use color coding to show your layering as well. Okay, so I think this one here is the foundation, you know, honestly, this is the foundation of project planning. Okay, so that will cover up to, you know, why work breakdown is the backbone for any planning of time, cost, quality control. Yeah, so maybe I will, instead of having a separate files, maybe I will just copy and paste this. Copy, So I will repost my notes later on. This will make it a bit more. I don't think I want to change my notes for last week. Otherwise, some people has already downloaded. I don't want any confusion. So what I will do is I will repost this set of notes here again on week 3 with all these examples, like more specific examples here. Okay, and you will need this for your assignments. The assignment, I think I will give it up in about a week or 2 time. I think next week I'll give it up already actually. And you need these tools, you need this technique here in order to carry it out. Okay, in order to carry out the you have to use this tool in order to carry out the work, the work that you're going to do to hand it in to me later on. Okay, so foundation work breakdown is the foundation. Okay, so any questions before we move on? This is the foundation, because without this you cannot do your data analysis. Digest it for a little while. Okay, any question? No? Wow, you all can understand, huh? Okay. Okay. So next thing that we do now. So the next thing that we do now would be how to associate this with our data sheets. Okay, I mean like our resources sheets. Okay. Let me see if I can find my previous example. Hmm? I can't open this thing. Okay. Never mind. I'll just continue using this particular Excel worksheet as an example. Okay. What's going on? Yeah. So this was the previous one that I did as well. So yeah, I'll also cut and paste and show it to you anyway. So it's probably a lot easier to refer to the same worksheets. Okay. Right, so from here in your Excel worksheet, what we can do is you can open a separate sheet, okay? And you can actually copy and paste, like say this one over. Like first sheet will be your work breakdown. Okay. So this is going to be your main sheets here. Okay. Can you all see? I'm actually working on the Excel worksheet to show you how things will look like, you see. So then now here, in this particular first set of worksheets, you can call it a manpower worksheets, okay? And then you can open one later on. It's going to be the same work breakdown structure that you're going to copy and paste through and through many, many times, you know. So you're going to have like this, copy and paste. Okay. So we're going to call this like a machinery. So you're going to have material, machineries and all that. So let's say if you start off with manpower, what you can do with is you can actually have your manpower's name on top, like it can be human name, or it can also be the profession name or the tradesman's name. So you can have a skilled workers, like skilled ones, and then you may have a few semi-skilled, okay? And then you will have like the general workers, you see. So from here, you know, you can actually list them down as a carpenter, like the really skilled ones, you know, depending on the people's name, you know, name, the profession name. Like some of these will probably they don't need like full that delivery of pounds. You probably will get it from like a supplier. So this one here, you will need general workers to be on site. So you said delivery of pounds. So you go by the smaller activity first. Okay, normally we just go by the small. We have to go by the smaller activities. These are the actual working activities. So I need, you know, 3 general workers to be available during the delivery of pounds, you see. And then I will need the preparation, you know, of the groundwork and all that. So I will need a few semi-skilled workers. So I need 2 and 3 general workers, you know. And driving of pounds, I will need 2 semi-skilled workers to be around. And then, you know, joining, yes, I will need 2 semi-skilled or even, you know, skilled workers, or you can have the first PAL specialist or a PAL, how do you call a worker who is actually doing piling work? Normally, we don't really have a name. So, you know, like let's say a parlor. I mean, like there's no such word as parlor actually. Testing, you probably need a proper geotech, you know, geotech specialized, you know, person, like a worker, you know, so you probably need like, you know, 2 person to run the machines or the equipment and all that, okay? So basically you're actually listing down, this is the title of the workers, okay, like the carpenter. Like normally carpenter, bar bender, we will actually put it under this region, like semi-skilled. Like I don't really call them skills, you see. Skills is like, to me, is very, very specialized kind of people, okay? If you talk about machineries drivers, like crane drivers, these are under skills, okay? But if you talk about just the excavator driver, I would say it's still under skills because they need license to operate. Anything that needs license to operate, we usually put it under skill, okay? And anything that really learn by experience and learn by trade and by promotion, in that sense, we'll put it under semi-skill. And the general ones are just like any Abang Ali that can come in, and help out with the general workers, you see. So we don't really have a specific name for them, you can, the specific title, and yeah, you just list it down. This list will grow, you can insert more columns and all that. So same goes in machineries. You will have your what we call, like a specialized equipment or specialized plant, okay? Then you have your specialized equipment, if you have any specialized equipment, or machineries, that we call it, and then we have the normal general machineries, and then we will also have equipment, specialized or non-specialized. You can split some more, and then what we normally do is that after you split enough already, we'll just merge and center, merge and center sort of things, you see. So we'll make it more tidy, this list, you see. And this list is actually, you do it in Excel because you just want to make sure that you can change it. It's available for changing later. And all the machinery title of the machineries, name of the machineries or title of the machinery. So you put it here like barges, cranes, mobile cranes, So you just put it here, machinery equipment, joining machines. Joining machines is probably specialized equipment, piling hammer, and then what other type of equipment, like generators, is equipment. So all these or welding machine is specialized machines, so you just put the machine's name all here, the title of the machines all here, and how many you need. So this is how we actually portray it. And then we also do that for material as well. And material wise, is more straightforward. Basically, you just go by, you just do this, and then you can have your material name on the top and what sort of quantity you want here. That is how we will do it. Sometimes if the list gets too wide, what they will do is they will just put it in this sort of format. You can always put it in like the layer format as well. What sort of machines that you need, so how many and all that. Like I have some students, they like to do this, like they will do like the name here and then the number here. So in that tendencies, if there is many resources, many machineries is needed under one item, you will have like quite a long list. So it's either the longer or the wider, it's up to you, So if you have the plant here, then you put the numbers here, you see. The numbers required here. So this is two different formats that you can actually utilize, okay? Are we clear on this? Can we have a bit of discussions on this? Because I'm like quite tired of talking to myself, I don't even know whether you can hear me or not, actually. Okay. Any questions so far? Really, no question, you all understand, So don't later on blah come and come to me, and say that I don't understand. I mean, like you probably don't understand certain things, that's fine. But then it's like sometimes some students they don't listen, and then they just totally didn't actually get it, and they will ask me, oh, why suddenly I put these two things here? What does it mean? This is like an alternative, like let's say alternative, I can do a different type of format in a way, for my the way I present my name numbers. Let me show you some of my let me see if I can find some of my master's students' work, you know, and then you can see how many groups they will do different things. And I think that is highly interesting in that sense, you know. Mm. Let me try to find it. Just give me a minute. Oh, okay, projects. Okay, right. Okay, let me share my screen again. You know, like machineries, workers, and all that is really something that you learn as you go along the way, you know, because different projects, we have different type of workers, different type of machines. So basically, as much as possible, we did cover that, you know, you can go back to your construction technology and, you know, with the different kind of works, you hear different type of machines and different type of workers involved. So you can pick up some as a basic from there. And then the rest is really, you know, learning as you go along, asking as you go along, you know, checking with the contractors as you go along with the assignments and also with the studies as well. Okay. Yeah. And you know, it's really the learning process. It's really like you digging for more information as you go along. Okay. Like I've got a group of people, you know, they they line up their resources. Yeah. You know, they will say they will line up. You see, this is their work breakdown structure. It's a bit small. It's okay. You know, yeah, just to give you an idea, you know, this is how they do it. That their work breakdown. Okay. And this is their work breakdown structure. This is their layer 1, 2, and 3, you know. And then from there, they will do the quantity of materials, okay? And then some of them, they will go by gang, you know, like what we can do is we can, by people, we can go by gang. And gang, probably you have to define one gang, how many workers, how many sub workers, you know, and all that. I mean, like how many skill, how many semi-skill, you can fix them first, okay? And then they will put down the productivity rate for those particular workers. So this productivity rate I will explain in more detail in the next class. I mean, when we're doing scheduling, okay? So with productivity rate, you can calculate your gang's productivity rate, and then you can actually put down the duration. Let me see if I can actually enlarge this a little bit. Okay, so yeah. So yeah, you can see that, you know, and then on the blue section, they start to look into, this is the quantity, and that will be associated with materials as well if it's needed. And then they will have the machine A, machine B, machine C, you know. So with the different type of machines, they actually put it into one sheet like this, okay? And then, yeah, this is how they come up with the cost plan. See? So then they will say one gang of labor, they will do like labor 1, you know, what is their cost and all that. So their gang later on will have a specific amount of money involved with that. Okay. So this is some examples of how people actually do their sheets. Let me show you other reports. Was a group that did a really interesting, you know, breakdown as well. Yeah, so you can do something like this as well. Labor, machineries, like in the labor, they will put it all together, and then how many quantity total, how many quantity, you know, a machinery. So it's like your logic flow, honestly, you know. So how you come up with these sheets basically is your logic flow. Yeah. And we don't really constrain that as long as you can understand, like they can go by gang, they can go by number, you can go by, like you can actually, like, let's say delivery of house or preparation, you need different type of people, so you can put different type of title here, and then with that you can put different numbers that is required here, that is manpower, because one type of work you do sometimes more than one type of people, okay, or one type of workers or one type of machineries, you see. So, you can do it in this sort of list kind of format as well. So either or, this is an or, okay, or if I have to put it more clearly, this is an or, okay. And like I say, the examples that I've shown you here, there are many ways of doing it as well, you see. So we will learn all this later. At the end of the day, for IDP and all that, you need to be able to produce like sheets like this, you see. So that will actually help you to, I mean, these are master's level work, so there is a lot of detail here. But for IDP, it will be similar. But if you don't have as much details, we wouldn't penalize you for it, okay? And let me see if I have any other examples that is. I have a gang that actually did like a specific Excel worksheet, and then from there they actually change all the Excel worksheets. I mean, like they can actually use it like an auto worksheet kind of thing. And then from the auto worksheet, they were able to, these are similar, similar. They do it in one sheets, like layer 1, 2, 3. You see your work breakdown. This is where your work breakdown comes into the picture. And then your material. So they put it material, machineries, manpower. So they split it into 3 like this. They do it all in one sheet, okay? Then always deal with quantities, production rate, and then they have different teams. Teams means that they will use gang. They use a gang system. So they will define, like for that particular work, how many workers in that particular one gang, and then they will just put down the gang here. Or you need 2 gangs. And from that one gang, how many people, you can start to calculate their productivity rate and their money that is required, the cost of this team E, you see. So I'll probably cut and paste some of these examples out later on for you to take a look at how this formatting can be done, okay, in a separate, week 2 kind of sheets, I think it is reasonable. It is reasonable to do it like this, okay, and these are very good work, it is a lot of detailing work as well, you see, and it really does make a lot of difference, how detailed that you do, because if you do it for tendering purpose, this is about winning or losing your project, If you do it for just planning purpose, it will also mean how well later you can actually plan for your duration, and then you will plan for your resources and all that. And you see, so what's the point of all this? Okay, what's the point of all this that I get you to do? You see, split up into work breakdown. From work breakdown, you go and input your resources, because this will actually form the first basis of your resources. This is like you telling your company, you need this amount of people in order to complete the project. You need this amount of machineries in order to complete the project. It's like a planning proposal stage, but not all the time you will have this amount of resources, you see. So from this particular resources data sheet that is being produced, like what I've shown you, these are all resources data sheets, you see. These are all resources data sheets that you can have, you see, in a different manner, different format and all that. So I'll show you some of these. I'll put it into your notes later on, some of these examples for you to get a picture about how this is done, okay? And like I said, there is a bit of variation here and there. The most important thing is I talk so much, also no use. You have to get yourself your hand on. Your hand has to be on it. You have to try it out. You have to do it in Excel worksheet. That is why we give you the project to do, you see. And the project will actually get you to practice, get you to actually properly practice on how to do it, you see. So, and that will create a lot of questions, and we solve the questions. You know, you ask questions, we solve it as we go along, and that's how you actually learn, you know. No matter how much examples I show you here, it's only me talking. You can see, you know, I show you, oh, this is layer one. You know, you see this few group, these three group, they go by different format. You have one that is going by one layer, two layer coding format. You've got one that goes at 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, you know, 1.2.1. And then you've got one gang that go by level 1, 2, 3, 4, that sort of format as well, you see. So it really depends on yourself, okay? It is all doable. It's a matter of how you project a story, how you tell the story of resources. So then from here, you will know your resources material. You will know the quantity of material. And this list is going to be so important because you're going to send it to your procurement section, and your procurement clerks or your procurement or yourself as a procurement engineer, you will go and search for, because you have the amount of quantity that you need. So that quantity list or material list, you will send it to your supplier. Look, can you quote this for me? You see? So then they will quote it based on the quantity that is given. I mean, it's different if you list down the quantity and you put like unique 11111. You're just getting the rate from a supplier. When supplier give you a rate based on one, a rate that is based on 10 tons or 5 tons and all that, is different. You know, the 1 meter cube rate is going to be different from if you're going to be ordering like 10,000 meter cube from him, you see. So it does make a lot of difference. You need to get this preparation done. So in terms of material, it's more straightforward. It's straight away there. You list it down, the quantity that is needed. You double check the quantity again. And some of you may say, oh, this is a job of a QS, but not all projects have QS. Not all projects have that kind of budget to have QS on the job. And in fact, with a lot of softwares and all that, these jobs are actually expected to be done by engineers themselves already. We do not want to have a QS to come into the picture. Okay, so you may not have that kind of resources available. So that is with material. So with these manpower and machineries, then you will know total later on how much machineries that is required and over the period of time, how long, okay? And then you can actually, from this, you will actually be able to do machineries and material, machinery and manpowers. Between the two of them later on, you will produce some timeline with it, some duration, because both of them has production rate. Some activities is the machineries that cannot do so many jobs. The people can. Some of them is the machinery is ready, but the people cannot do so many things in a day. So depending on which production rate is going to govern, then your schedule is going to be based, your duration is going to be based on that, you know. So when the duration is based on that, you need to readjust your quantity again all over, okay? It sounds a bit complicated. It sounds very procedural, I understand, okay? But here today, I just want you to know how do you use this materials, resources, data sheet, okay? Material, you want to get a quotation, you want to buy material, you want to know when to buy, where to keep, and all that. So that is very important. Machineries, you need to know the quantity that is required, the amount of machineries that is required, and the production rate associated with each and every one of the machineries. You want to know the manpower because you want to know the productivity rate associated with this machine, with this gang of people, or with that particular bar vendor, or with that particular concreter, etc., etc. Why? Because you want to use that later on to compare your machinery's rate of production compared to your people's manpower rate of production. When you make that comparison, then you will know one of them will be more critical. So you have to base on your duration that you calculate. How do you calculate duration, ladies and gentlemen? Production rate is equal to, production rate is what? Quantity over time. Yeah. So if you know the production rate equal to quantity over time, then in that formula, you will shift your time to be on the other end of the formula, then is quantity over production rate. So whatever quantity you have, you divide by production rate, you get the duration. So that will indicate the duration needed for that particular activity. So we are actually planning for our time as well. So the main thing with the resources data sheet is you want to know the quantity, you want to know the production rate, and you want to know which one is more important, and then the time that is associated with it. Because later on, with the time that is associated with it, then you baru boleh calculate the cost of doing things. You see? So this is like a one thing linked to another thing kind of thing. So I do not want to go too much into calculation of production rate first today, because that is really our next lecture. So our production rate, if you see the production rate is what equals to quantity, your quantity of your materials or your work, quantity of work, okay? We did this, you remember we did this in, we should have done this in, sorry, because I didn't teach you that much for your construction technology, so I'm not sure whether Rohaida covered this with you, but, you know, I always assume that, you know, she will have covered with you. So this is duration. Okay? Because normally if I do construction technology for my machinery classes, I will have covered this with you. So then if you want to calculate duration, okay, you want to calculate duration, what you do is you play with the formula, isn't it? I mean, like, come on, you know, you guys are engineers, you know, you're good with maths. So duration is actually, duration for that particular activity is a quantity of work over the production of that particular machines or of that particular manpower or gang of manpower. You understand the relationship here, okay? So I do not want to put it anyway first. It is the next part of our notes, really, you know, so I will keep it later on for later. Yeah, so this will be our formula that we are going to be using a lot. Because to do a schedule, you need to know all your resources because there is production rate associated with it. And then with that quantity of materials, of the number of work that is required, you will start to see the work that is required. And the work that is required will be part of that formula. And then with that duration, this will be the duration for your activity. So this is the beginning of planning for time. You see? So with these resources data sheets that we produce here, you know, the purpose here is, you know, you want to carry out, you know, you use different sort of like a projection, you show us how your resources looks like, and you may actually later on convert that into histogram. Okay, so this will be a summary of your resources usage. And resources also, you need to know whether how much you can get from your company, because every construction project, it belongs to an organization that should have a fair bit of project going on at the same time. So then, besides that, also as a project manager, you probably be also managing multiple projects, meaning that under yourself, you have like 3-4 different type of projects, you see? And then you probably share your resources. So with this resources sheet, it only will also tell you that the amount that you need so that you can go request for that amount. Or if you can't get the amount, then we will teach you later on resources leveling and resources planning. Resources leveling and resources loading is a technique that we can actually use to merge multiple projects, you see? So these are what we really want to cover when it comes to resources, okay? Any questions? Okay. So what I really want you to go off with today is what I really want you to go off with today is basically the appreciation on doing these resources work breakdown. That's the first thing. And the second part is associating the resources, doing the overall resources data sheet first. Okay. And then from there, we will start to use these resources data sheets in many different ways, which I've mentioned. Material, labor, machineries, all have their own purpose to be there on these resources, because it will actually affect our next step, our time and our scheduling. And our time and scheduling will affect our cost. And then you'll be using this resources sheet also to work out on it's an input to your quality plan as well. So this is the background, the foundation of the whole idea of resources. Yeah. Project management and resources is the foundation. Yeah. Okay, so you guys just dwell on this a little bit. I will just make the notes a bit nicer, and then later on I'll post it up. And now I will just go and do the QR first. If you have any questions, please by all means we can ask. Okay. Are you feeling baffled, like really a bit lost or something? Group one. Okay, I'll go to group two now. Group three. This Thursday, I'll be posting out some pre-recorded lecture. So you all have to go and answer some questions as well as attendance. Okay, now I go back to group one. Group one, anyone else in group one needs this QR? Okay, I offered group 2. Anyone in QR needs QR? Group 3, last chance for group 3. Okay, now I'm going back to the group 3. Anyone needs manual attendance? Group 3, calling group 3. Group 2, anyone in group 2 that needs manual attendance? Group 2, nobody. Okay. Group 1, get ready. Who needs manual attendance? Group 1, anyone needs manual attendance? Okay. Right. That is done with all the attendance. Okay, no more. Okay, there are some questions here. Okay. So yes, so like I say, use construction technology knows as a basics of what sort of machineries and the workers that are required, because we talk a lot about that during that time. So that will form the basis for this resources data sheet. Okay. Like I said, with the resources data sheet has a lot of different type of format, and there's no such thing as right or wrong as long as you can understand the format. I've got a team of people last time, they actually did the Excel worksheet, like all the formatting and all the formulas are all there. So then in the end, what they do is with every project, they can actually just change it, like change the numbers and all that. And it works out really well for them. And then, those that they don't need, they will just shut it off. They will do an overall general sheet, And I thought that was a fantastic idea, And I think that is something that all project manager and all engineers, at the end of the day, you will work towards to having your own sort of planning and your own sorts of formats, to actually look after your own project. I mean, a lot of things is about your own logic as well, But of course, that logic must be what we are giving you here is what must be there on that particular sheet. Whether you put it in a diagonal format, whether you put it in a straight format, whether you put it in a column or row format, it's really pretty much up to individual, okay? And of course, you need to input materials, right? Like I said, I have a material. If you go back to later on, I'll also post up that particular Excel files into the into Elite. You will see that I have a breakup on material, and you can see that all the sheets that I've shown you just now, the different sheets, they actually put material first, because material should come first, because that will indicate the quantity of work. You see, with the quantity of work, that will be associated with material directly. And then production rate later on for machineries. Production rate, you don't really care about production rate for material, because most of them are done in a factory. It's not under your governing, but then you need to know when to order and when to deliver. Those are the delivery part of things, okay? Maybe some factory, they take like 3 months, you have to order a bit early, okay? Once you get the project. So the production rate is only really concerning on machineries and manpower. But without, you see, the formula is production rate is quantity of work over time. So if you want to calculate time, you don't have quantity, how are you going to calculate? You understand, right?
Yes, Doctor. Paham.
Yeah. So you need the material first so that you can play with your production rate formula. Otherwise, your production rate formula will have two unknowns, time and quantity, correct or not? Even if you have a production rate, how are you going to find the time? Because you don't have the quantity. So quantity comes from the material. Quantity resources data sheet of material. So some of my students like to put everything into one big piece of sheet, or they can split out like I would do is split out into different sheets. I like to look at different sheets, but sometimes because of the interlink and interweaving between the different sheets, they actually like to put it in one sheet. I think that's fine as well, as long as your eyes are big enough to look at everything at the same time, you know. So one more question. Okay, so Alan, okay, are you asking me an IDP questions? Alan, this is not associated with this particular topic, right?
Yeah.
Okay, can we cover that later? Anyone else have any questions on this topic that we've covered here on resources today?
Doctor, I have another question regarding numbers of workers.
Yeah.
So how do we to know the number of workers for a scale group, a scale number of work? Let's
Oh,
say let's say for like footing concreting works, right? And then how do I need to know how many group of numbers needed to complete the work?
that one, I would say, you know, the first most important thing is your common sense, lah. You know, when you have, you know, remember I say that, you know, when you're doing the work breakdown structure, you're actually running through how you're going to carry out the work. Yeah. So if you're doing concreting work, can you just in your mind imagine first like how this concreting work will require you know, somebody to take, you know, the concrete truck to come. Let's say you're not going to mix it on site. Are you going to mix it on site? You know, you have to answer questions like that in your head. You know, if you're going to mix it on site, you know, you probably need about 2 or 3 workers to at least do concrete mixing. Okay, and depending on the batching plant that you're using as well, you see. So then to pour it in, you know, barrel by barrel, you have to think about the flow of the work. Then you will start to see that you may need X amount of people. Okay, so that is the beginning. That is the very beginning. I will call it common sense. I will call it like, you know, you can't expect bar bending. You can't expect like just one guy to do it, you know. So you probably would need at least 2 bar benders in most circumstances, you see. So then general workers is about carrying things. If you are like, you've got this huge 206 meters concrete pile, can you imagine you got 1 worker to carry it? You can't, right? This is common sense, correct or not?
Yes.
Yeah. So then you go for your common sense first. Okay. So after that, once you key in, the other thing that next step that we will look at is the production rate. So if these 2 guys, this gang can do this amount of work, that normally they can do X amount of work in a day. Okay. And then you see that the amount of work that you have is actually Y amount. Okay. Like let's say 100 meter cube. And then you've got 2 guys working. One day they can only like, you know, vibrate and everything, like maybe about 5 meter cube, you know. So that is their rate, correct or not? And if you have 10,000 meter cube, you're only planning to put 2 guys here. How long it will take them? You divide lah. So it's going to be like thousands of days or hundreds of days, you see, just to do concreting. Do you think that is logical? You see, so then you start to say that, I cannot allow that, you see, so I have to reduce my time down. So therefore, what do? You increase the workers, correct or not?
Correct.
So it's that relationship that that logical flow of thoughts that you play with. So first, you put it in as a common sense with your production rate. You will start to see that, you know, start to cook all the time is just taking too long. It is going to affect a lot of the other works. You only have 12 months and your concreting work is going to take up like 200 days, you know, it's like, hello, you know, and that is not logical. So then you will have to put in more gang, you see, more people. So then you will see that your resources will increase. Or your machine will increase because you cannot just allow like excavation of site or site clearance. You know, you want to finish site clearance in about a month, more or less, or 2 weeks. That is what you have in your mind. So then all your machineries comes in, you do your production rate calculation, and you realize that, hey, you know, it's going to take 2 months to do site clearing. So then you say, oh, no, I have to increase my machinery. I have to increase excavator. I have to increase 2 or 3 or 1, you know. So then that would be your resources. You will play around. You know, there's no such thing as resources that actually first draft out, everything is clean, everything is perfect, you know. You will need to go through this thinking many, many times before you can finalize on the resources sheet. Does that answer your question, Zai?
Yes, doctor. So another question, doctor. If we increase the number of labors and machinery, does it mean that we cut more costs, doctor? I mean, we spend more costs.
You will spend more money, yeah.
Yes. Okay.
You will spend more money, but you will cut time. So then the last question is, which is more important, time, cost, quality? If your budget is very tight, then of course take longer time lah, kan?
Yes,
If your
yes.
time is very tight, then you have to increase your budget lah, yeah?
Faham.
So this is like the balancing. It's always that balancing between that three. It's always that, you know, like you're walking on a tightrope, you know, as you go up higher and higher, your balancing act becomes harder and harder, correct? Now, when you have a rope on the ground, you know, when you talk about common sense, your rope is on the ground, correct? Now, and then when you put your rope up 1 meter up high, 2 meters up high, you fall down, you won't feel that painful also. So, you know, you do your balancing up there. But then as you go up there, later on higher up there, you start to realize that, you know, some balancing act will be very helpful if you fall down, you see. So then you have to know what is the important point to hold on to. Yeah. These are, I think what I'm saying here now is maybe something that is targeted to fresh graduates like yourself, or somebody doing assignments like yourself. This is something that we can do. But as you move along after one project, after you complete one project, then you're moving on to the second project, you will realize that that will slowly become your second nature, your instinct. Okay? And that is called experience. Yeah? And as you become more and more mature in terms of arranging for resources and all that, it will get easier and easier. So in the first time we do, we are concerned about formats, you know, because why? Once you have a good format, you are actually making yourself think, mind map yourself that way. So after you mind map, as a very inexperienced engineer, zero, you know, experience, the mind map and the format is very important because it helps you to think. You use tools to help you to think, yeah. So then later on, as you go into third or fourth or fifth projects, 5 or 6 years down the track, it will become second nature. And as you go along, also you will also talk to subcontractors, you also talk to workers, you know, and you will find out from site. When you go down to site, you will learn, you know, that partly is normally, you know, if you get into a project, some of you will probably be like at the very beginning where you're doing the planning, but most of you, like 50-60% of you will probably have some ongoing project that you muscle, you know, you look after it together at the same time with a senior engineer. So you sort of like observe as well the amount of people that is required for a certain jobs as well. So that will be part and parcel of building up your experience. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, doctor. Thank you.
Okay, good. Good. You ask questions like that. I mean, I know I can see your concern is probably like, oh dear, if the assignment comes, you know, how do I know how many to use, you know? So yes, there is no right or wrong answer, honestly. You know, you can use very little, but then your job will just take a lot longer. You can use a lot, but you will have inefficiency, low productivity because everybody depends on the other guy to work. You know, like sometimes we go to some government agency, you know, they come out, they've got like 5 person to do one thing, you know, and end up that thing take 5 weeks, haven't finished yet. So also there are circumstances where too many cooks will also spoil the soup, you see. And that balancing again is very important. And common sense. All right. If there's no more questions, I will answer Alan this utilization of site. Yes, site utilization will be part of your IDP plan. So where you put your material, where you put your site office, where you put your where you're doing construction, where you put your machineries, where are the in, where are the outs, and all that is part and parcel of your IDP later on. you will project that in your IDP one already. Yeah.
I see, Doctor. I have a question regarding today's lecture as well.
Yeah. Can.
When we're talking about a groups of general worker, there is usually one ketua that is taking care of the others general worker, and the rate for that ketua is different. So when we put that into our work breakdown structures, we put that into a semi-skill, skill, or unskill for that leader.
If you're talking about a team, okay,
Yes,
if
a
you are
team.
working based on team A, team B, team C, that kind of team structure, then yes, your team can be having one semi-skill, three general, for example. So that is
I
one
see.
team. So when you calculate the rate for production rate, is the rate for the entire team, not just one guy.
All right.
So it's a matter of how these 3+1 people working their rate. So they will be looked at as one individual, not 4 individual anymore.
I see.
Yeah. Then the cost will be the combination of these three. So if let's say you pay the semi-skill $100 per day and the semi-skill is $25 a day. Semi-skill is $50 a day, the general workers is $20 a day. So combination of the team will be 50 plus 25, 25, 25. So you'll be looking at 125. Yeah, 125 per day of cost for that particular team of workers. That
I
is
see. I
for
understand.
calculation later lah. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So team is as a whole team. But there are people, if the project is quite small and you don't utilize that amount of people, you may want to not use team but use a specific category like carpenter, bar benders, like what I covered just now. Some people find it too bothersome, so they just want to put it in one team, you know. So you got like one ketua with few guys at the same time. Any more questions?
Doctor, I haven't scanned yet. I went to the toilet just now.
I already closed the QR code. Yeah, so no.
Okay.
Times already. Next time, just be more careful. You know, we call for QR code is 15 minutes altogether. Usually we take, you know, so my practice is I don't open up my QR code again after I close it. So you just have to treat it as you didn't attend today. Also, I don't think, you know, like if you don't QR at the time that we QR, then I have to consider that you're not here, even though you say that you're in toilet, because I don't know whether you are in toilet or not. Okay.
Okay.
So just be careful next time, because we've got 3 chances. I open the QR code, everybody shoot first, and then I go one more round with the QR code again, group 1, 2, 3, and those people left over, they QR one more time. And then after that, I open up for those who have to do manual attendance with their name right there on that page that they have done it or not. They can call out. If you're not looking at the screen, then too bad, you know.
Okay, got it.
So please take note of this, Amiru. You can miss 1 or 2 classes, that's fine, you know, but then you have to make sure that you come over and do your QR code consistently. Yeah.
Okay. I'll be more careful next time. Thank you, Doctor.
No problem. Okay. Any other questions from anyone else? If not, then we call it a day, okay? We learn more from discussions, you know, so yeah, it is good. So we discuss, you know, you guys ask questions, we discuss, then, you know, it is a very good way of learning as well. I mean, sometimes I talk for 1 whole hour, you know, I don't know if you understand it. Even though I give you a lot of examples, show you a lot of examples, you know, some of my seniors say that, you know, Dr. Ting show more examples. So I show more examples, but somehow, you know, I believe it's through this sort of discussions that we learn even more in that sense. Yeah. Okay. So don't be hesitant, because I can't see your face, you know, no matter how if I'm laughing at you, behind your back also you can't see, so it's okay, you see. So just ask, or you just put it in the group privately message. That's the wonderful things about online classes. I don't see you, you don't see me, so your friends don't see you. Even if they're laughing like, how can I ask so stupid kind of question, but then you don't know if they're laughing or not because their mic are mute. Okay. But we've got some very good questions here. Yeah. Right, if that's it, we call it a day, okay? And on Thursday, watch out for pre-recorded. And those people who didn't fill up the attendance sheet on last week, last week we have attendance sheet until Friday. So by Thursday, I checked, there was only like 60 something or 40 plus something people filling it up. So if you didn't fill it up, too bad. I have to treat it as you didn't read the recording and therefore you didn't attend the class, okay? So watch out for this week's one, Thursday. So Thursday, I'll usually give you up until Tuesday next week to fill up the attendance, the activity. Okay, the activity will indicate that you listen to the recording and you fill up 1 or 2 words or few words, on the questions. Yeah, but very important. Whenever we have pre-recorded lectures, you have to watch out for the attendance short answer question. Take note that we will be giving out assignment next week, and that is one. And number two, we will be having a test on the 8th of December. So do your revision now as much as possible, okay? Don't miss out on any classes, don't miss out on any recordings, huh? All right, thank you guys. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, doctor. Thank you.